Nat.
We did it, Josh.
We did it. Yes.
Yes.
Praise God.
Yes, glory to Jesus Christ. Oh my goodness. Like, I stayed up till like close to 4 o'clock in the morning. I saw the speeches and everything. We all thought like, oh no, we're not going to find the results 2 days later. But like Trump won by such a landslide. Like you had to call Pennsylvania for Trump. You had to call Georgia.
Here, I'm gonna pull up the map now. All right, because there's still there's 3 or 4 states that are going to Trump that they still haven't called. I don't know why they don't just call it.
No, Nevada, Arizona, Michigan, Alaska. Well.
So he's, even without those states, he's sitting at 277.
Yeah, he
right?
won.
She's sitting at 224 electoral college votes.
And the Republicans control the House and the Senate currently. The Republicans gained 3 seats in the Senate. That is really good because it helps Trump's policies be enacted. But it's an amazing election.
Dude, they just found out what happens when you poke the bear.
Yeah. This is by far, and I really, in a lot of ways, I'm glad that he didn't win in 2020. Like, I do believe he won, and I do believe there was fraud.
Yeah.
But I'm glad in some way that we had this, because this election that he ran is like by far greater than 2020.
Yeah.
And it even tops 2016, if you ask me. Like, the large coalition he got.
Yeah.
He got a Kennedy supporting him. He got Tulsi Gabbard. He got all these celebrities. He got Joe Rogan. He got Elon Musk. Like, it's amazing.
And, I also feel validated because in 2020, I remember me and my friends were all, really fighting hard against, the mask mandates and all this stuff. And, it was one of those things where it's you're trying to be peaceful about it. You're not trying to be divisive, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a Christian, you want to live peaceably with all if possible, right? But me and my friends kept saying they're testing us. They're trying to see how much they're able to control the American people. They're trying to see how much of sheep we are, right? And I feel so validated by that because now having another election without a pandemic, we see just how much they were able to get away with because of that.
Mm-hmm.
The election fraud and all that, they weren't able to do that this time.
Yeah, and if you look at the numbers, it still doesn't add up really, like how the 2020 election went.
Yeah.
But in so many ways, though, this election, it really shows how popular Trump has become. It's not even controversial at this point to really support Trump. It's become really. It still is in a lot of ways. You're still a rebel for supporting Trump in a lot of ways. But it's people just don't care anymore because people are looking at the economy. Yeah. They're looking at the immigration. And the Harris campaign could not give a good answer for that. Trump went into, Democrat-controlled areas, these blue cities.
Yeah.
He went to go work at freaking McDonald's just to point out how much of a liar Kamala Harris is. He's not afraid. He goes on Joe Rogan for 3 hours. Survives 2 assassination attempts.
Yep.
I'm sorry, the convicted felon, as they say. He is by far one of the greatest icons of the century. By far. He created one of the most memorable campaigns of the century, even photo-wise. It's just it's almost hard to believe that someone like that can exist.
And the number of moments, right? I was listening to people talk about this last night. The number of moments that he had that were just iconic throughout this entire election cycle, right?
Yeah.
Starting all the way back with his photo, his mugshot, right? It all started with the mugshot, and everyone's like, all right, that's iconic.
Yeah.
Right? And then you move forward to the photo of him pumping his fist in the air after he'd just been shot in the ear, right? And then you go to... And okay, that was the peak, right? That was definitely the top moment. But still, the number of iconic moments even after that, right?
Mm-hmm.
The debate with Joe Biden, iconic. All right.
Mm-hmm.
When he went, he went and played after he got shot in the ear. They posted a video of him playing a full 18 holes of golf, right? And breaking 50. I don't know.
Who is this man? It's hard to believe he's real sometimes.
Yeah.
You almost wonder is this for real? Someone like that can exist?
Yeah, water off a duck's back, he just kept moving forward, right? And I think, it was not for nothing, right? I think Trump is, if you can even say this about Trump, I think he is a more humble man than he was after the assassination attempt, all right? So it's not like it didn't change him at all, but he was largely unmoved by that.
Mm-hmm. And it really just shows the fact that he didn't walk away from any of this. He didn't. He continued to fight, and that shows how much he loves his country. He loves his people, and that's admirable. Anyone from across the world can see that. And a lot of people wish they had a leader like that. He did not kowtow.
Yeah.
At all. And him winning, like, it really is true in a lot of ways. He kind of killed the legacy media even more.
It's dead.
It was dead. But this is like even more. It's like all the polls were like wrong. No one would have thought that Trump would win the popular vote. Even I wasn't really confident that Trump would win the popular vote. I thought,
yeah. Can we what? He won the popular. What in the world?
He's 5 million votes ahead or something. It's crazy.
It's wild.
Kamala Harris is performing worse than Biden and Hillary Clinton by every metric. It seems to be like.
Yeah, and rightfully so. I mean.
Yeah.
Because it's this is one of the things where like the media when they go to Trump, sometimes they say he's stupid and sometimes they say he's an evil genius, right? And you have to pick one. But for us, we know Hillary, evil genius. Biden, stupid. Kamala, stupid.
Hey, but Biden's celebrating right now. We know Biden voted for Trump.
Biden is very happy.
Biden voted for Trump.
If he's even still alive, all right? We don't know.
Biden, when he called Trump supporters garbage, like part of me just wants to believe like he knew what he was doing. He's like, yes, this is going to energize the base. Because he got, in a lot of ways, he kind of got screwed. He had to step down, and he didn't want to. But it shows like how and now they're trying to cope, being like, well, she only had like 100 days to campaign and blah blah blah. Listen, you guys didn't hold an election, okay? You guys just said, okay, Kamala Harris is just going to be the presumptive nominee. That's just how it's going to go. Tim Walz, like, he's from the governor of Minnesota, and like Trump already lost Minnesota by like what, 4 points? It's crazy.
Yeah, they did this to themselves.
Trump flipped Nevada, the silver state. Last time I went for Republicans was like 2004. Wow. That's crazy.
That's wild.
Trump has gained among like he not only has he contained a lot of his voter base, but he's also gained like Latino men like went plus 10 for Trump. Trump's got 45%.
That's the other thing is this was a more diverse. This was a more diverse turnout for the conservatives.
Trump got 45% of the Hispanic vote. And this is a guy that everyone said was being really racist to the South Americans with the border war and talking about having the largest deportation. Yeah. And it seems like a lot of the Hispanic people see past that. They are seeing what's going on in the country. They're looking at the money as well, and they're going, no, Trump's the better case.
Well, this is the death of DEI, right? Because everything that Kamala is, she represents being a DEI hire. That's why she's there, right? She's a black woman, so she checks 2 of the diverse boxes. She's a woman and she's black, right?
Black, quote unquote.
Well, the only way it could get better was if she was gay. So sorry, Doug. Anyway, no. But yeah, so the only reason she's been there for her entire career is because she's black and because she's a woman. And then finally, when it came down to it, when she finally got into a position where it actually mattered, the blinders came off and people were like...
And you can see her competence.
They don't care. They don't care that she's a woman. They don't care that she's black. There's nothing going on upstairs.
When she went on The View and asked, would you change anything about the Biden presidency? She's like, I wouldn't have changed anything. I can't really think of anything in mind. It's like, everyone already hates what's going on in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
With the war in Ukraine, that not being so mismanaged, what's going on in the Middle East, Afghanistan, the withdrawal process was terrible, high gas prices.
Gosh.
This is like, what do you mean? Like, there's not one thing you would say you would change. And Trump's messaging was just clearer. He knew the top issues was the economy and immigration, which is what he is stronger on. And Kamala provided, like, nothing, really nothing at all.
Yeah, she didn't even, Trump, as a businessman, works hard for what he wants, right? Like, he's had a lot of wins in his life, but he has worked for every single one of them, all right? All the people that say, like, oh, well, he made a bunch of money from his dad. Yeah, but he has multiplied that money, and every win that he's had, he fought for tooth and nail.
Yeah.
And where was she? Like, I think she knew months ago she wasn't going to win this election because she didn't show up for any interviews. She
made all these demands to Joe Rogan, like, you need to fly to my
There was no
area. Yeah. We're going to get 1 hour. The debates, all these demands that are being made. Like, Trump was right. It's like, we only need one debate. I don't need to debate you anymore. I know. Yeah. We win. Every time you speak, I win.
No.
Sorry, Ray.
No, yeah. I do want to say, Christians need to pray hard for Donald Trump, right?
They do.
Because he's not saved. He's not a Christian. Like, let's not lose sight of that, right? Like, God, I think, is knocking really hard on the door of his heart, right? With the everyone calling the assassination attempt a miracle that he lived, right? And at the time I wanted to say that with them, that it was a miracle, but I think, like, if he hadn't won this election, then it would have kind of been like, like, I mean, it would have been a miracle for him, but not a miracle for the culture.
Mm-hmm.
But the very fact that he is now in office, well, not in office, but that he's going to be in office in January, that solidifies the fact that God is really trying to speak to him and trying to speak to us as a culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like, God is giving us a second chance, but we just have to be careful because, right, what does the Old Testament show us over and over again? Whenever God did something favorable for the people, they became quick to forget him and they went back to their old ways.
True.
And so we have to be really intentional in these next 4 years not to take for granted the victory that God has given us, right, and to pray for Trump because he's not a Christian. Let's be very clear about that.
Yeah. I do agree with what Charlie Kirk from Turning Point said. I was watching a little bit of his stream. I've been like kind of like juggling around different streams, but he was first to very quickly say, this is glory to God. One, like this is totally undeserved. It's all because of God. God basically granted mercy for Trump to win. You know, that's really just the truth at the end of the day. And I do believe there is legitimacy in a sense when Trump said, like, you know, I win because of God, and God wants me to come and make America great again. I do believe that's true.
I think it is true.
I do believe that is true. And regarding Trump's salvation, is like that would be something. I don't know how it will be. I don't know what is in his heart, and I don't know if we would ever know. Well, but I hope that he would be placing his trust in God 100% after what he's went through.
I think like Samson, right? God used Samson even though he was a wayward man, right? Had a lot of the same issues that Trump has with women and that sort of thing in the past. But you saw that God turned Samson's heart right before the end and was able to use him, and so that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Not, you know, because Trump's done all these nice things for us as a people, and I just want to see. I don't want to see him miss out on the blessing of. You know?
True. No, it's true, and. You know, it's funny that how people are very quick now to be like, okay, now how's Trump going to solve the issues that are going across the world, you know? Yeah. He's taking back that spot. Do you even hear that Putin actually hasn't congratulated Trump officially yet?
Really?
No, nothing has been said. I was reading some article.
He's probably not too happy.
I was reading an article and he was like, the reason why is because he's trying to downplay, the Kremlin is trying to downplay their support for Trump. As we know, they are very pro-Trump. I'm like, what are you talking about?
No, they're
like,
not.
Okay,
they are not.
You're probably the same press that said Kamala was going to win. But let's just talk about some statistics that come to my mind. Okay? As far as I know right now, black man, 20% for Trump. That's like a big gain.
20%?
20% right now.
I wonder if a certain film had something to do with that.
Yes, and I don't... The final numbers may be different because I think the website I was looking on was MSNBC and it was only looking at the key states. So the 10 states that were going to swing either way.
Yeah.
But 45% right now for Hispanics for Trump.
45%?
45. And
oh my gosh.
And I think the last time 45% of Hispanics went for a Republican was for Bush in 2004. Like Bush, and by the way, Bush was never advocating about building a wall, doing a large deportation program.
I was going to say,
if anything, he pandered to them so bad just to win the state of New Mexico.
Yeah, I was going to say, can we talk about the fact that Trump has built his political career, not his career, his political career was built off of the idea that he was going to stop illegal immigration, right?
Build a wall, like,
and yet he still gets 40% of the legal American Latinos.
Yeah, when Trump announced his candidacy, he talked about Mexico and when they're saying that people, they're not saying the best, they bring drugs, they bring crime, they're rapists, but some of which I assume are good people, and that was so controversial. Even just a couple of weeks ago, Trump performs in Madison Square Garden, and this comedian makes a joke about how Puerto Rico is garbage, you know, which, by the way, they do have a huge trash problem, actually, which is true. Yeah. But all of these things, like, it's not working. And you look at the state of Florida. Florida back in 2016 was a swing state. That state went for Obama twice, from what I remember. And 2020 went for Trump again, gained a little bit. 2022 midterms, DeSantis won by a huge margin, thanks to Trump support, really. And, you know, Florida's now become like basically like conservative HQ. Like, Trump won that state by 13 points. 13 points. That's not a swing state anymore. Ohio, he won by 11 points. That's not a swing state. Yeah. That was a state that went for Obama. And he flipped Nevada, you know? And it's just like amazing to see, like, Democrats are in trouble, actually. And you know what's funny? I was watching the Young Turks a little bit, and they're like this communist, like, leftist media, and they were like having kind of a meltdown. and all the
Good.
live chat,
more of that, please.
all the live chat
Please
was like,
show us the feed.
the live
I
chat
need to
was
see
like,
them crying.
the live chat was just laughing at them, people. But like, they were kind of right in the sense that like, you know, the Democrats didn't have a really good message at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
you know, Trump made gains. He flipped, like Miami went red for Trump. Like the Cubans went out for Trump. It's crazy.
I will say though, I know there's a lot of people joking about the, you know, and I just said like, you know, we want to see them crying or whatever, but like, okay, victory does feel sweet, but at the same time, I do think that's something that conservatives really need to work on is how, okay, Ben Shapiro's whole the leftist tears thing, all right? I don't think we want to rub it in so much. I think that we want to welcome them into the party because I think, I think if we do that, we're just going to hurt their pride and they're going to double down on, you know, just sticking to their own.
Yeah.
But I think if we say, listen, like, you've been lied to, you know you've been lied to, all right? Like, and I think we just need to gently welcome some of these people in the center and to the left of center. We need to welcome them into the party for the next election and just say, listen, guys, like, there's no hard feelings, right? Like you've been lied to by a propaganda movement, like a propaganda machine for the past, you know, couple decades.
Yeah.
And the blinders are coming off, the legacy media is dying, and I think it would actually be very wrong for us to point fingers at them and laugh at them and make fun of them. I think we need to welcome them in.
I agree. And as I matured in my faith, though, I find that winning them to Christ and all else will follow.
Yep.
Because, like, you can flip them on a certain stance on an issue, or you can even say, okay, I grudgingly would support Trump this election, I would vote for him, or something like that. But personal heart change is what's going to matter.
Well,
that's going to stand a test for time. That's eternal.
And look at was it Charlie Kirk, the one that was like, if I can change your mind, I'll give you a free MAGA hat? Was that?
Yes.
Yeah. So look at him, and he's a Christian, right? If I'm not mistaken.
As far as what I've been hearing him say, yes, he does believe by salvation.
And so you look at all of these. I think that era of conservatism, the one I was just talking about, right? Like the leftist tears. I think that era of conservative debate is dying, right? You look at Steven Crowder, who went viral for his change my mind thing that he would do on college campuses, and you know and I know and he knew that the point of that was never to actually try to change anyone's mind. It was to make fun of people who are very emotional and don't know what they're talking about. And then you look at Charlie Kirk, who's a Christian, and he saw the importance of this election and he went out there. And if you look at the clips, very compassionate, right? Silencing the Trump supporters in the crowd that were making fun of these people that were bold enough to come and bring their questions. And he silences them and just in a very calm and composed manner asks them, what's bothering you? Like, what's upsetting you about this election? And I think the Bible says that we have a responsibility to speak the truth in love, right? Especially as men, that's the second part is what we struggle with, to speak the truth in love. That's something that's been coming up in my own personal life over and over again. God's been showing me that I have I've been lied to a lot in my life, and so I have a huge commitment to the truth. But because of that, I've kind of steamrolled people, and I haven't spoken the truth in love. And I think really, if the conservative movement is going to survive and become a dynasty and see, you know, the next election and maybe the next election after that, depending on who they put up, I think that's what it's going to take. I think conservatives are going to have to be a lot more gentle because if you look at Kamala, the votes that she did get, the very few, she got based off an emotional appeal to the people, right? The Democratic Party has been so good at playing to the emotions of people. And, you know, again, Ben Shapiro says facts don't care about your feelings. I think we need to care about people's feelings, right? The data, it doesn't care about their feelings. But we are not data. We are human beings. We are Christians, and we're called to care about these people and be gentle with them and speak the truth to them.
Yeah. I think it's like... It's still mind-blowing. I'm still brewing over, like, what has just happened. But I agree with you, Josh. I agree with just speaking the truth in love. And more important, of course, is personal heart change at the end of the day, and all else should follow. Obviously, the more sanctified we become more like Christ. Our values should change. You know? I do want to say just how it's like this whole country just had a whole referendum on the last 4 years. Like I said, I didn't think that Trump would win the popular vote per se, and he did, and he went ahead and he took it. Yeah, it's funny, like the optimism even for the next 4 years. Like Illinois, Biden took that state by 17 points. Guess how much he lost by Trump?
How much?
8 points.
Wow.
That is a huge cut.
Yeah.
And Charlie was like laughing. He's like, you know what? If we actually just work hard in Illinois, we could probably flip that. Actually, it's like, it's crazy, and it's like, just like, like Trump really has become has finally, like, I think, taken his place as the face of America.
Oh yeah,
really. Like people get that now.
Yeah,
a lot of people get that.
Trump is, and it's crazy because I don't know about I don't know as much about American history as I should, and I've been studying Reagan lately, right, with the movie that came out about him recently, and just the fact that what made Reagan special was not that he had all the right policies. He really won the affection of the American people and of the world.
Sure.
And I think Trump in this election, that happened for me. I think up until this election, whenever I supported Trump, I was still looking at him as the lesser of two evils, right? Like, I didn't like his rhetoric. I didn't like, the way he talked to people on the other side of the aisle or whatever, comments that he made. But I saw what he was trying to do. And then in this election, really when he went into the Joe Rogan interview, right? The Joe Rogan podcast, I remember him talking about, he was talking about some of the laws that are affecting police officers in the state of New York. He was talking about how this cop that he went to, Trump attended his funeral, met with his family. He was doing a routine traffic stop, tinted out black windows. The guy opens the door. Before the cop can say a word, just unloads on him, shoots him, kills him. And Trump was talking about, like, he realizes that as a politician, when he signs his name to a piece of legislation, it is life and death for some people. And that cop is dead, not because he didn't have the tactical training to defend himself, but because some politician signed a piece of paper saying that in that situation, you can't draw your gun, you can't, there's nothing that you can do. And Trump won my affection because just through stuff like that, I've seen that he genuinely, he cares about the little guy. He really does.
He really does. And the rhetoric on both sides, you can see night and day. Like, Kamala's rhetoric was really just to say how much you should just not like Trump. And she was really, in the final days, really just saying how he's a Nazi, basically. And
she had nothing left.
She was low-key just dog whistling for, like, an assassination for Trump. I mean, it was ridiculous. Like, even the media took it out of hand. Like, what Trump said about Liz Cheney, Dick Cheney's daughter, about how Trump was basically saying, like, you're being a warmonger. Like, I'm sure if you were put in a situation of being in the battlefield, pretty much, you would have a very different opinion. Like, just railing on a neoconservatives. And it's like, oh, well, he's calling for violence. And it's like, no, he's not. It's like, this whole Trump's a fascist, Trump's this and that, it just doesn't work anymore. Trump's going to do he's going to take women's rights away and stuff like that. Ridiculous. No one's believing that.
No, he's not. He's not even, he's not even, and I disagree with him, but he's not even as pro-life as many conservatives would like him to be.
Yes.
And yet Kamala still tried to win the election based off of saying he was going to take away a woman's right to choose.
And let's just be honest. And, I'm going to just go on a little bit of a rant to the Christians who are saying that. He may not be as pro-life as you want him to be, yet he has done more for the pro-life movement than any of you guys ever have, than any of the most pro-life people in government. Okay, he put that Supreme Court judge, made the Supreme Court more conservative. It's a 6-3. Okay, they overturned Roe v. Wade. It's now now it's a state's issue. Okay.
Yep.
Because the whole point of overturning that was to say, of course, it's not There's nothing in the Constitution that says that women have the right to abort their baby. I'm sorry, there's just nothing in there, and now it's a state's issue. Okay, yes, yes, it would sound great if Trump would have come out and say, yeah, of course I support that. But let's be honest. You look at the numbers. You look at the Senate. There's no way that's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
You couldn't get to do it. You couldn't even be able to do so. And the sad reality is, yes, the Republican Party has changed. I was like reading about this yesterday, how back in 2004, you know what George Bush campaigned on? Making it a constitutional amendment to define marriage between man and women. Back in 2004.
Yep.
And they tried that many times. Didn't go through. They couldn't get a 60 votes in the Senate to make that something like that. Because like the whole point of making an amendment is it's a little difficult. You need to have like you don't just cross over 50% of the vote. You need to get like 2/3. And it's like, yes, the Republicans nowadays would never even dare say anything about gay marriage. They wouldn't even touch that issue. And we can have legitimate worries about abortion, of course, but the whole point is, I have to ask the Christians who did not want to vote, who refused to vote, I say, what are your standards? What are you seeking?
Right.
Are you only going to vote for a person if they are a Christian? Well, guess what? How can we ever know? Many will claim they're Christians. Kamala Harris claims she's a Christian, okay?
Right.
And it's like, what is the line? Like, look, you may not like Trump. You may say, I never would vote for Trump and I don't regret that. Fine. But write down what are your convictions for a person. Because I'm going to tell you, a lot of your convictions are very silly and they're not very well thought through. Yeah. Trump is more conservative and has done more for Christians than many Republicans. He's done more for the average American than in the last 40 years. Like, let's be real.
Yeah, okay? and I want to be... I want to capitalize on that, but I think I want to be, again, gentle with how I say this, because I used to be, I've grown up Christian, so I know.
I'm not mad. I'm just
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you. I just want to take that even further and say that the camp of Christians that are unwilling to vote for a non-Christian for office, I think there's a lot of overlap between them and the Christians that. And I used to be one of them, the Christians that don't associate with non-believers at all, right? These are the Christians that they're homesteading out in the middle of nowhere. They're in their homeschool groups, and their children are never exposed to unbelievers ever, right? And I get their heart behind that, right? That they want to protect their children. They don't want their children exposed to a lot of things that are going on. I get that. I was raised a homeschooler. I was pretty much brought up in those circles of Christianity. But what I've realized largely over the last couple of years is you cannot win your culture for Christ if you never get out there and meet someone who doesn't know him.
Exactly.
And that largely is going to determine the course of history moving forward. I mean, God is giving us a second chance here. It's probably realistically more like the 25th chance or something like that for America to embrace him again. I mean, he is so gracious. Like, he's insanely gracious.
He is.
But if we're gonna move forward, then I think those people need to come out. They need to come out into society. And they need to boldly proclaim the gospel of Christ, not be ashamed of it.
And I'll be honest, I will have to ask the Christians who did not want to vote. I have to say, like, well, what are you doing personally? Okay, it's more than just the president. Of course, your local state elections matter too. Are you going out to vote? Are you, what are you doing? Like, people say, well, Christ is our savior. We put our trust in him. I put our faith in him, not government. It's like, yes, so. I can't vote. So hypothetically, if I was American, I can't vote for Trump and also claim that too. Like, what's your point? The point being is you want to vote for a candidate that's going to make it easier for us.
Well,
easy in a way that's going to make the country better. And civil liberties, like getting the right to vote, is a very new concept. Okay, in a lot of ways. Okay, like there are times we can look at early church history where there is no political representation for Christians. It was horrible to be a Christian. Like. While you have the right to vote, like, do it. Okay, it's not to say, I don't think God frowns on someone voting for Trump being like, why do you do that? Because he's not a Christian, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry. Like, at the same time, if like you cannot be revering all these like people in the Bible, because they did a lot of horrible things too. You know, I'm sure you still have a very positive opinion of them, because we can see their accomplishments and we can see what they do. Whether Trump is personally saved or not, you have to understand that, like, he's not the same as Kamala. These are two different Americas right there. You know, so just think on that. You know, just think about that. You know, I think it's very easy to, and low key, I'm gonna be honest, I think it's a little prideful in some ways. There is a tint of pride among some Christians to say, I'm too good for this, I'm above this. And it's like, I'm sorry, this country is not Christian the way you want it, but no politician is even going to think about listening to you if you're not going to be politically active, okay?
Yeah, and that's the thing is, if you're waiting for the perfect candidate, right, it's Christ, right? When Christ reigns for all of eternity, you'll have the perfect candidate. Until then, you will never have a perfect candidate, and so you can't look at it as a black and white issue. You can't vote solely based on saved or not saved. And second of all, if you think that someone's going to be a better president just because they're a Christian, I don't think you. I think that's a prideful view of what Christianity is. Being a Christian does not make you a morally better person. All it does is make you aware of the fact that you're not a morally good person, right? And so to say that we need a Christian in office, I think Trump, as far as policy goes, he's doing, by and large, almost everything that we could hope that a Christian would do if a Christian was in office.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and you're right to say that. Just because you're saved doesn't really mean like you're gonna be a good leader. Like some people just don't have what it takes.
Yeah, I saw.
Some people just don't have the zeal. Some people just don't have that same hope that Trump did. Like, after everything Trump has gone through, all that persecution, he's still like pushed on. It's not, and it really is love for country. It's way more than some ego or personal pride at this point.
Yeah, and I want to point out, there was we were watching last night, right? Some of the Senate seats, and there was, I don't know who she was or what state she was from, but there was a state that
I think it was the black woman who won the Senate seat in Maryland.
Yeah, she won the Senate. You're right. She won the Senate seat in Maryland. And she got up to give her like acceptance speech, and one of the first things she did was she said, "I want to thank God, and he has blessed me, blah blah blah." Like, talking about not just a surface level, not just trying to use him to garner votes. I genuinely, based off the way she was talking, I think she is a genuine Christian. I would have to do more research, but then
and she's a Democrat.
But she's a Democrat, and then we looked up, and the first thing on her platform that she ran based off of was guaranteeing a woman's right to choose, and she's for I want to say late term abortion. I don't want to
Yes. And that's the thing. It's stuff like that. It's like Trump may not be personally saved, but his policies are more aligned with
biblical values,
with the Bible.
Yeah.
More aligned. And if you are very certain that he's not saved, and start judging him from like a way you can judge a brother in Christ. You have to see him as a way he's a lost soul, but at the end of the day, he is what's better for the nation. And you know what I mean? And it's true. Because think about it. Jimmy Carter, president in the 70s, okay? I went to the Museum of the Bible. I think they had his own personal Bible or something like that.
They did. And
this is a man that was said
that he wrote,
This was a man who was said to read his Bible a lot, and he was like really close with God, and a lot of people who worked with him has said stuff like that. Democrat, known as one of the worst presidents in history.
Yeah, and and literally he
gave Reagan a landslide.
Yeah, not just his Bible, but there was, I believe it was him. There was a letter there where he wrote a letter to whoever would be the next sitting president of the United States. And he said, you need to saturate yourself with God's word. You need to be in it hours a day. That was the quote.
And that was the Democrat.
Hours a day. And that was the Democrat. Like,
and he could very well be a Christian. He is over 100 years old. He's probably going to die soon. Yeah. He's in a hospice, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I do want to, I want to say that, okay, I haven't figured out a good way to segue into this, but I've been wanting to talk about this the whole time. Again, Trump's not a Christian. The comparison between, I'm in my personal Bible reading right now. I'm working through 1 Samuel. The comparison between Saul and David and Trump and the Democratic movement is like fascinating. Like, okay, so I'm just gonna read. So this is right after David had to flee because Saul threw a spear at his head for the second time. All right, 2 assassination attempts.
Trump's a reincarnation of King David.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying history repeats itself. Listen to this. So David, he flees and he's like in a cave, and then in 1 Samuel chapter 22, verse 2, it says, "And everyone who was in distress, and everyone who was in debt, and everyone who was bitter in soul, gathered to him, and he became commander over them." Like, and I read that a few days ago in my devotion. I was thinking about everything that's going on. I was thinking about like the kind of man that I want to be, the kind of people that I want to be attracted to me, right? And we've already talked about how Trump cares for the little guy. And I think you see that Trump won this not because he was the sitting president, not because he had the power behind him, not because he had the media behind him. He won this because the people were exhausted.
Yep.
The people were exhausted. They were in debt. They were embittered in soul. And that's true of me. Like, these last 4 years, like, I am someone that grew up saying I'm proud to be an American. And then these last 4 years, like, I was not able to say that. Like, I was ashamed of my country. I was ashamed of my culture, of everything that I was seeing. And I genuinely thought, like, the American dream, like, I genuinely thought that if we did not win this election, I thought the American dream was dead.
Yeah, and an average empire lasts 250 years. America right now is 248 years old. And I think Trump winning shows there's still that spirit of the republic that's still within the country.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. He was really the last bastion. This is a man, no history in politics, just a billionaire, reality TV show, Playboy star. And then, he comes into politics and he shakes everything up. He reforms the Republican Party where he is now the leader of the Republican Party. Like, you never see this happen really in any other country. Like, stuff like that where like someone from the outside just comes in is like a military warlord. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to imagine like how this happened.
And just remind ourselves, people called him Hitler. He did not take this. He did not steal his way into this position. He won not just the electoral vote, he won the popular vote.
Yeah. And just to say, like, listen, it's not to say that, listen, just to conclude on the whole thing about Christians who don't want to budge on this issue, it's just like, really just take your time to study, like, American politics, especially the last 20 years, and you realize by far Trump is better than the average politician in the country. You will realize how much better he actually is. And I feel like a lot of people who don't want to vote, it's a mixture of lack of education on American history and the political system, and really is a tinge of pride of I'm too good for this. Like, he has not met my standard. It's like none of these candidates are not going to meet your standard. I'm sorry if you in a lot of ways, then it's not.
And that's the other
they're
thing.
They're far and few between. I'm sorry.
That's the other thing I want to address is I think, dare I say, I think there's actually a group of Christians that want America to die, because they.
I mean, we met a couple.
I on our college campus, right, a Christian college campus, we've met a lot of.
Who want straight up anarchy because
they want America to die because their mentality is they're very upset that America is a nation that claims to know God, but America hasn't claimed that in a while.
Yeah, the whole thing is because they feel so betrayed by the system. They said there needs to be a complete collapse and do-over. It's like, this is not how going to pan out the way you think it's going to go.
And the Bible says, submit to the powers that be. So I don't know how you as a Christian can live in this country and wish God's judgment upon it. Right? Like, I think we as Christians, no matter what culture we're born into, should be praying for that culture to get better, not worse. Yeah.
But Josh, we are living in interesting times. I don't know where we would be. I mean, I have an idea where we'll be a year from now, but we got to review a year from now. Like, what has happened?
What has he done? What has Trump done?
Yeah, usually people do that in January when he's inaugurated, but I would say I do have one prediction though that I think may happen. It's not too much of a worry, but they're gonna flip the narrative and say that a lot of these mail-in ballots are fraudulent, that went to Trump. That's
No,
my worry.
I don't think
but
so.
at this point, I'm less. I believe that a little less now because everyone's pretty much affirming that Trump won. Kamala, as far as I'm concerned, called to concede the election to Trump. So this is like
I think
I don't know. It is, but it is scary to say what is going to happen from now to then. Will Trump be able to complete 4 years of his presidency?
Yeah.
You know, that's my worry.
I think so.
And
I think they're
gonna continue to fight.
Yeah, and so I think they're gonna leave. I think they're gonna leave the mail-in ballot thing alone. I texted, I don't know if it was you, I texted someone. I woke up this morning and I said, pinch me. Like, I don't believe this is real.
You did. And you texted me that.
Yeah, and the reason is because it kind of feels like the calm before the storm, right? Like, because we were expecting the liberals to be very upset, and what we've seen is drastic silence, right? And we've seen Kamala over the past months not doing interviews. She's been silent. And I think that the calm before the storm is not going to be, it may come in the form of another assassination. I don't think so. I think the calm before the storm is the next election. I think that's why they're so quiet right now, is because they need the mail-in ballot thing, because they're going to try to do it again. So they're not going to turn it and say that Trump used the mail-in ballot thing, because they need that piece of the puzzle. But I mean, if you look at what happened in 2020, that was something that was in the works behind the scenes for a long time. And I think I think we really need to be praying for whoever's going to be the next guy after Trump, because Trump won this election because he was the safe bet, because the American people knew who he was. But whoever the next guy is, the American people are not going to know who he is.
Maybe J.D. Vance, if Trump would have somehow, if he's not around anymore.
It may be. But we gotta pay attention to whatever happens next.
And it's a lot of evil. Instead of like the party just going like, I don't think this is gonna happen, but it would be really good if they just like look to themselves and say like, oh, we're wrong on a lot of issues. We gotta find like a middle ground. Like, like just come out and admit like the last 4 years has not been good for the Democrats at all. Like they had no good messaging.
Yeah.
How can they go out and claim that Joe Biden created a safe border system and Kamala's a border czar? Like, that's not true at all by any means. The foreign policy's terrible. Inflation's terrible right now. Like, I'm sorry. And the media can go out all day and say, oh, these Americans felt this way and they're really just misinformed. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, it's like, these are people's livelihoods. You don't understand.
Yeah. And
it speaks a lot when it's the average American that has went for Trump. It speaks a lot that he got the popular vote.
Well, and it's a beautiful thing that we are living in a society where the people in power cannot just do what they want, right? Like you look at people that were under monarchies, or you look at like the Caesars in Rome, and like the people had nothing. Like they had no way of. Like Nero, right? Like the Christians, they had nothing. Like, what a blessing it is that people like Kamala Harris, like Joe Biden, like Obama behind the scenes, like Dick Cheney, right? All these people. What a blessing is it that we're living in a society where they can't just do what they want. Like, and we get to play a role in stopping it from happening. That's a beautiful thing.
It's a new day for not just America, but for the world. And I am still going to enjoy the compilation videos of the liberals crying about it.
Nat.
I am going to. We are all going to enjoy that. Josh, you wanted to see a new photo, and I sent you one.
Yeah. Of them crying. I don't know. I think some of them, yes.
I have not. Has Taylor Swift said anything yet?
No, I don't. She barely said anything to start with. I think she said.
Well, she did. She endorsed.
She did, but I think to be honest, she's been pretty quiet. I think she said the bare minimum. I think she.
Beyonce went out personally to the rally.
Yeah.
For Kamala, so. Hey, we're living in interesting times.
Yeah.
And, I'm actually happy to say that I'm gonna be here. It's actually a monumental thing for me. My first time seeing the election in America.
Yes.
for my American brothers and sisters in Christ. And I'm also going to be here, as a student and as a missionary while Trump is the president. I don't know. There's something about that I love so much.
Yeah, you have your...
That I love so much.
Dude, Nat,
I was telling my mom about this. I was like, when you visit next time, it's going to be cheaper. You're going to have a great time.
Yeah. Yeah, you really... As far as the mission that God has assigned to you that you feel called to, like, these are very good days for Nat Tan.
Exactly. This is... I don't know. It's like... It's just amazing, You just can't... I just can't stop but smile, about what has happened, Yeah. But thank you all for whoever's listening.
Yes.
If you voted, God bless you. You're better than Josh. Josh did not vote this election, and he went on a whole rant about why Christians should vote, right? No, I'm kidding. Well, listen, Josh, tell a quick story.
Quick story. This is... Okay, so I was registered to vote from the last election. My registration should have still been valid. Personal, we can maybe get into it another time. Over the past 2-3 years, my parents went through a really messy divorce. Changes of address, I think basically I had to renew my registration because of a change of address, and I don't think I knew that. And so by the time I went to, because I'm in upstate New York right now for college, so by the time I went to request my mail-in ballot, they said that my registration wasn't current and it was too late to do anything about it. And that killed me. But I think at the same time, I think God did that for a reason, because that was his little personal way to me of showing, like, I've got this. Like,
sure,
he's in control.
Sure. Trump won despite Virginia not going red.
Yes.
And it's thanks to Josh. That was frankly a
It was just me.
It's just Josh. Josh was the reason why Virginia went blue again.
Yeah. No, but if you look at it, hey, if you look at it by region, it's just the big cities. Just the big cities.
Did your county win for Trump, I presume? Right?
My county did by far go for Trump. Yeah. So
and so did the county of our school.
Yep.
But anyway, thank you all for listening. We all got a chapel to go to.
It's true.
But it
must be about our Father's business.
It's a new dawn for this country, and
it's a good day.
It's really a good day, And glory be to God once again. Is all thanks to Jesus Christ, that we can celebrate in this moment. Is really all credit goes to Him, and that shows how merciful and loving He is to allow something like this to happen. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, let's leave it there. I don't know what else we could say.
That's
the best note we could end it on.
We're gonna go out for drinks and celebrate. But anyway, God bless you all. See you next time.
See you next time.